Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mindful Moments podcast. I'm Tracy, I'm your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self-exploration and discovery. The real on solitude. And this one here, it's all about getting into the nitty gritty of solitude. And I'm even calm right now, like as I'm sitting here recording this, because I have been solituding so hard. I've been solituding. And that's pretty much why I decided, okay, well, I'm going to just come on here and record this, because for me, this is the best way that I can ensure that I'm actually giving the unfiltered truth about, for me, why it's so important to embrace solitude whenever possible, and how doing that has really shaped my life, especially up until this point and to where I am right now recording this, sitting here on this chair, sitting here looking at this podcast recording thing. And I did not get here without solitude. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but for me, solitude was imperative. It was foundational. It was kind of like, it just kickstarted things. And what I learned about embracing solitude is that solitude isn't just about being alone. It's about being with ourselves in a way that is meaningful. And when I say meaningful, I mean it needs to be full of meaning. It should be the most quality time that you spend with anyone ever in your life ought to be with you, ought to be with yourself. And if the thought of that is ever making you kind of cringe, or you're thinking about all of the reasons that that's not possible, I want you to find all of those reasons, and I want you to go through them one by one, and I want you to bust each and every one of those myths, because that's all that they are at the end of the day, is that they're myths. They are quiet lies that we tell ourselves. And I've learned that if we tell ourselves these types of lies, and we do it with the frequency at which many of us do, I know that I have, that reinforces it, that makes the program stronger. So what I found that is, if I can find that quality time and I can duck off for a minute, it's where I found that I can strip away all of the external noise and I can just be. There's no distractions, there's no demands, there's no expectations. It's just you being you. And it's so easy. It's so easy to be who we are whenever we're by ourselves. And a lot of that will have a lot of adventure in it, because it's often through lessons and through opportunities. Like, that's how we further develop and further learn more about ourselves. At least it has been for me. And in those quiet moments, whenever you're able to get in that solitude and you can really lock in and be up in that, that's where you're able to connect with yourself. And that's when you can understand your true desires and you can reflect on your journey. And that happens to be one of my absolute favorite parts, is being able to reflect. And I feel like the best way and the best place to do that is when you're in absolute solitude, if possible. And so the more that I've continued to think about this and kind of mull over my thoughts and everything, it's like I keep on coming back to the same conclusion, that there's so much power in solitude. And if anyone else is hearing this besides me, but I'm also really talking to me, and we've always been the type to thrive in our own company. If we really sit back and we think about it, for those of us who are like me, some of our best ideas come when we're alone, when we're in those quiet moments. And that's when we've had some of our biggest and greatest epiphanies. And I very vividly remember those solo trips. And I've been solo tripping pretty much since my college days. It was not uncommon for me to hop in my car and go for a long drive to go visit somebody else at college or whatever. And I don't know when it changed to to me getting to the point of receiving the program and accepting the program, that spending meaningful time with yourself is somehow taboo. or going against the grain. I never really saw it that way until, I guess, until people kind of brought it to my attention, because I very much used to be what most of us would consider to be a social butterfly, life of the party. I mean, that's the best way I'll just tell you this, like, I was the type that if you called me and there was pretty much any level of fun or adventure or spontaneity or impulse or anything out of the ordinary, I would hop on and I'd be on my way, especially if it involved a lot of people and drinking, of course, and just that general party vibe, party atmosphere. I used to be all up in that. And then that changed. I got to have a taste of solitude, and it changed everything for me. And I don't know where I would be if I didn't have solitude, because it was a catalyst for my pre-contemplation that led to me not drinking. And it's also just been guiding me through all of these different life experiences, through a lot of different situations and different experiences that had I not had solitude, had I not been able to spend time with me, I mean, mindfulness and meditation and knowing myself, all of those things, I don't know how I would have gotten to them. I don't know how I would have found them and then found ways to express them. And I've already shared my guiding principles or core themes as far as my life philosophy, and I do like to reflect on them and I do like to think about them. And right now, the core theme that I'm really feeling is solitude and abundance. Because if you think about it, sometimes we don't venture out to do something solo or to do something that is our own journey, our own creation and path, and only ours. Sometimes we don't do that because, I mean, I can't say why this is the case for everyone, but for me, I wasn't trying to do solitude because for a moment there, it was like, for one, do I want to hear my inner thoughts? Like, do I want to hear what's really going down in Tracy Town? Like, do I really want to? That was the first thing. And then it was also that sometimes with the solitude and the abundance, I love putting those two together because it seems like sometimes there's an idea that spending that time in solitude is somehow going to be taking away from another meaningful experience. But that's just not how it's happened in my life. And I would say if you have that many meaningful experiences, if you're that hard pressed to where you're like, but I have so many meaningful experiences. Oh no, whatever will I do? If that's you, then like consider yourself fortunate, consider yourself favored, and definitely take note of that in your gratitude and reflect on that. And that's what happened to me. I realized how much abundance was all around me, and the fact that me spending time, quality, meaningful time with me was not taking away from the access of others. It wasn't going to somehow restrict other people and their ability to also have meaningful quality time with me. What I found was so opposite. It was that I found the quality of all of my interactions, the quality of all of my relationships internally with me, and then also all of my external relationships. They all started to reflect the lessons that I had learned. So some relationships, unfortunately, they just didn't survive. And that's one of the things about it, is that I have absolutely learned to release and let go and to embrace these seasons of change. And the seasons of change manifest in all types of ways, not just our literal seasons, but also across relationships, professional, careers, creativity, and everything in between. And that's what I saw. I saw that some relationships, when I reflected, they were relationships that had a lot of resistance within them. And since I am very gleefully accepting and pursuing this life of present moment awareness and ease and joy and compassion and kindness, I realized that so much more of that is now reflected all around me. Like, it really, really is as above, so below. as below, so above, as within, so without, as without, so within. Hermetic philosophy covers this already. We've already got Hermeticism and now we're mixing in the Stoicism. And for me, these experiences have been transformative, and they've given me clarity, and they gave me this creative spark. And it's really hard to find this creative spark whenever you're in it, whenever you're in the thick of it. I've also learned that you gotta go get it. Sometimes the solitude won't come to you. Like sometimes, sure, you look up, the house is empty, you're like, hey, here we go. But I have found at least that it's so much more fulfilling and meaningful, and the impact is more long lasting if you go out and you get your solitude, you secure it, you ensure that that is as important to you as your sleep and nutrition, and as important to you as other people are to you. And if you can prioritize this time for you, all I can say is just hold on, hold on. You're going to have a very good time, but you will need to hold on. It's going to be a ride. It will have bumps. It will have detours. And when you really start riding the ride, you're going to figure out that those bumps and detours, they make the ride more exciting, more adventurous, and you get to learn so much more about yourself in the process because, as we've discussed previously, challenges and lessons, they go together. They're like peanut butter and jelly. They're like love and gratitude. You're going to have challenges that come up, and you can change the way that you perceive them so that you see them as lessons and look at them as opportunities and find new ways to approach them. Don't keep trying the same way if like it hasn't worked already. Like don't try to solve the same problem the same way. Even if the first way that you tried to do it was effective, try to exercise your brain. Try to see what else it can do. And here's what else I've learned, okay? Solitude isn't always easy. And I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Solitude is not always easy. I said this earlier that there's a couple of reasons that I avoided solitude, and one of them was because it brings up some uncomfortable truths and it forces us to confront things that sometimes we'd rather avoid. And that's just the real. It's so much easier. It's so much easier just to stuff all the soy sauce and ketchup packets back into that little sauce drawer instead of cleaning it out and organizing it and throwing away the packets that are old. And it's so much easier just to shove it all back in. And I'll tell you what I found was that is the most beautiful part of it. It's by facing these truths head on, we grow. It's by facing these truths head on, we learn more about ourselves. We learn more about what we need and what we want to let go of, what's no longer necessary. And I picture myself metaphorically at the gas station, and I'm just clearing out all of the trash from the road trip at the first gas station, just throwing away those empty cups and bottles and chip bags and all that stuff. It always feels so much better when we can let go of things that we don't need, those things that we've just been holding on in the passenger seat until we got to the gas station so that we could dispose of it. And listen, when I tell you that this whole solitude, monk mode mastery, doing your own thing, fearless creativity, all of this, when I tell you that it is not about being selfish, it's about self-preservation. It's about making sure that we all understand that solitude has really taught us that it's okay to say no. It's okay to prioritize our own needs and to shift the focus, to shift the way that we perceive, so that we are understanding that these moments alone are precious opportunities that allow us to be able to refuel and recharge and reflect and be. And then after that, we get to come back to our interactions, come back to our relationships, come back to work or whatever. And we come back as more of ourselves. We're more grounded and we're centered. We're light, we're flowy, we're airy. It is so the vibe. Y'all, it is so the vibe. I love to see it in people. I love whenever I haven't seen someone for a long time and I know a lot about their past experiences, and then I see them and they have that light, joyful, they look so well, like they've been sleeping good. They look like their nutrition's on point. They look like they've spent time loving themselves. That brings me a certain level of deep gratitude, really, because I appreciate that, because I know that by having more of that in all of us is better for all. It's better for all of us if there's more of us getting to know ourselves and being able to do that without distractions, without expectations. Creative juices flow the best when we are alone. Solitude does something special. It gives us this time that is completely uninterrupted. It's completely ours. It's not restricted. And so because it gives us that quality time, it allows our minds to wander and explore without interruption. For me, when I say that it has been in these moments that I've been able to tap into some of my most liberating, most creative forms of self-expression, whether it's been writing or painting or just brainstorming new ideas. It could just be me and my notebook, or even me and my planner with my highlighters. Y'all better stop playing with me. I will go all the way to town if you give me a planner with some highlighters and a pack of colorful pens with erasers. It's over with. It's done for. And a big part of this for me was learning all of this about myself. And I wasn't able to learn all of this until I was alone, until I went on a few solo trips, and I made it an intention. I intentionally made sure that I carved out this time over the years. And I learned that if I can create an environment that has certain elements that I know spark creativity within me, then that will provide me all of what I need to be and just be, and to be in solitude. I learned that I can do all of that if I have a notebook, if I have painting supplies, and if I have jewelry making supplies. Like, with all of that, I'm good. I won't need a phone, I won't need electronics or anything. And from that, I've been able to birth some of the absolute most creative projects that I've ever to date have been able to create. And my favorite part of that was that in all of these creations, they've been so free flowing. They haven't required that elbow grease like what I would normally have whenever I was trying to do a big like work project or something. And so I found things that I used to find were very difficult and were very frustrating and used to drive me all the way up and down several hallways. Those things now I'm able to do before I've even had my morning tea. Like, I'm able to do those things legitimately with very little energy, very little brain power. And I truly have solitude, and the fact that I've been able to incorporate ease and joy and presence into my state of being. It's about creating these routines and incorporating them into your routine so that you can find some new understandings of yourself, and with that, new creative and innovative ways to address different problems and find different solutions and be who you are at your core. And I feel like this needs to be something that we're all doing, that we're finding ways to integrate this solitude into our normal day-to-day routines. And it doesn't need to be big. I'm saying this to myself. Tracy, you don't need to go all in on this. Just go on a daily walk at the minimum, practice some meditation, some mindfulness, and just sit quietly. And do this whenever things are chaotic. Do it when things aren't chaotic. Do it all the time. Make this a normal new way. Make this a part of your general vibe. So yeah, solitude has really transformed my life in ways that I had never imagined. And for me, I've definitely learned that it's not just a practice. It is also a practice, and in practicing it, it has become a lifeline. It's where we find peace, it's where we find clarity, and it's where we find the strength and the courage and the bravery to face whatever comes our way. And that's all I've got for today. With that, be here, be you, be now.